was magnificent. I mean, he was really a special light to everybody. He came from a background of, he's a twin sister. It wasn't easy for him in the beginning. He got a staph infection in the NICU, where he almost died the first week. They didn't think he would survive, but he did. And then it became like 2 months of hospitalization. And of course, the doctors in the NICU want to be positive, but they really didn't know, or they didn't want to say we know, and then something goes wrong. So it was very hard on our whole family, but he made it through. So it started with feeding tube and all these neurological tests, and he made it through that. And then when he was old enough to, he started as a baby with therapies because they said he had low tone. He also didn't respond, so it was a big question mark for the first few years, and it was very difficult. But he was always smiling when he wasn't crying with the problem, but he just was a beautiful soul the whole way through. And I always talk about a picture of him as a toddler where he's out in our backyard, he's wearing his braces to walk. He's topless, so you can see his Mickey tube, which is how we fed him for 3 years. And he's holding a lizard with a big smile on his face. So that really shows the kind of go he had. And he basically beat everything that was against him. And I was very fortunate because all those years of therapy, you see kids with cerebral palsy and all sorts of things that where you arrive is where you stay. And he went through everything good. And again, being a little wild, I thought he was kind of a daredevil. He loved things that go. He started the morning on Harbor View. Everybody said that was the go boy that they'd see every day. So it started with, scooters. And then it went to electric scooters. And then it went to hoverboards. And then it went to whatever that's called, a scooter. Mm-hmm. Anything that moved, he loved. And then when he turned 16, he got a WRX Subaru Blue, which was his dream. So he was always on the go. And in fact, my biggest worry was his driving. I was afraid that, there would be a bad accident or something. So I was always keeping tabs on him with one of my apps. But again, he just had a free spirit, and I learned more about him since he passed from his friends, because he still was living at our house, but the last few years, he was never at our house. I was like, it's not like we were watching a movie together. But he always came in smiling. I heard stories from parents that said when his car would drive up, it was like a throaty motor, you would hear it. And the friend he was visiting would say, Harrison's here, and then mom would go, Harrison's here. And she's like, everybody stood at attention because he always came in with this extra special smile, and he became the cheerleader of the group of friends he knew, which was a wide group of friends. One of his favorite things was hiking in the mountains. He loved the outdoors. He loved sunsets. I mean, he really was attuned to everything, and his friends got that from him too, because a lot of them would feel, bullied in school and things like that. And Harrison would be this skinny, like 60 pound kid with a big cochlear hanging down. And these other friends would see, well, how is he so friends with everybody in the neighborhood? And he brought that kind of acceptance and inspired others to have it. So he was light. I mean, I complained at the end with his driving, but he was just, I can't tell you enough. He was just such a kind person, and he left that feeling wherever he went or whoever he touched. And to be killed by gun violence is just not acceptable. It's something that shouldn't be happening. So the night that he went to Ybor City, he was going with two friends at the very end of the night, like 2 a.m., and they were going to drive their car through 7th Avenue, he and two friends. They went there, and then the roads were closed because this is when the bars were getting let out. So they parked their car in a garage, and they just walked down the sidewalk to look at people in costumes. And then when they were coming back towards the garage, it was the exact place where this started. And his two friends said, one friend came by and told me at the house, he said, there's been a shooting and Harrison was hit. He was hit in his leg and they're taking him to Tampa General Hospital. So driving in shock, we went to the hospital and it took a long time for us to find out exactly that actually he passed. They couldn't do anything to save him, which gives me some, I won't say a good feeling, but it's good to know he wasn't laying there. They told us that it was like he was running and then he was gone. That it was that quick, because the second bullet went up through his back and up through all his organs and through his heart. And when they took him to the hospital, they open you up to see what they can do to just keep you alive. His blood pressure was gone and everything like that. And his heart looked fine. You know, they just couldn't figure out what was going on. And it had gone through the back, all the way through the back of the heart. So it feels like everything that could go wrong definitely went wrong. I remember thinking, well, he's athletic and his two friends didn't get shot. I was so thankful. But I'm like, he's athletic. He can run as fast as anybody. And when you see the video and the seconds that it takes, there's this crowd, the shooting, and then everybody runs out to the sides. And there's the first guy that was in this group that started the confrontation. And then there's my son. So you think, I'll be safe. And I always said to my kids, be safe, be aware, all this stuff. You can't stop a bullet. You can't. And the police, they have done a great job. They're doing all they possibly can. And other organizations, of course, we all want this to come to an end. But thinking that they can make us safer is a joke. There's no way they could stop a bullet because it just happens in seconds. And it rips through. They shot 18 people, so I've met other people out of this, and it's just, you can't imagine, and you don't want to know how bad it feels. I mean, it is an instant, and you really feel robbed, especially with gun violence, something that could be changed. And for us going forward with Harrison, what we want to do is, I want his legacy to be here forever, and I know it will be. And his legacy is that we can be kind to people. We have got to start nurturing a society and our kids growing up that they feel like Harrison did. They're excited. Everything they do, jump off a cliff into the lake below. Harrison would do it. I'd be like, oh my God. But he just didn't have fears of life, and he just loved everything he did. Fishing, camping, driving his car, golf. I mean, everything. And again, this was the kid that, in middle school was 60 pounds. So he went from this little guy, and he just never let any of that hold him back. And he was fortunate that he did get through those things. But kids don't know that these days anymore. I mean, I see it, and I see it with school with my kids, the pressure on the grades, and I'm not just blaming it on that, but we have emphasis on the wrong things. We have taken away, they're trying to, the arts, which I'm big into because I have a dance school for 38 years. And this expression is vital for our kids to survive, and everything keeps getting taken away and pushed on this. And obviously we're not living in a world that we lived in 10 years ago. Even 10 years ago I was concerned, but it's not the same world. So people need to really be aware of how important and how much it's going to take, not just to change the laws, but to change how we're treating each other. And our children will reflect that. And right now, with my dance school that I've had for so long, the kids in that, they're different. They're very different. And it's at an early age. I mean, first grade, they're getting bullied. And there's just not, you know, people, yeah. And that's why it's important, like with these foundations and Harrison, I've got the Harrison Boonstoppel Fund right now, but we are starting a foundation for Harrison that is going to be about being out, helping people to realize every day that this should be their thought, you know? And I want it to be something that businesses and people, they have this sign on the outside, let kindness win. We've got to go forward with something that is, first of all, in their face, not in their face, but it's seen every day. So even the people that are already kind, it just gives them that one more thumbs up, like keep going, and hopefully give some thought to the people that feel like life is just pressing them down and there's nothing they can do, because I felt that way. I have felt like that for probably 10 years too, with all the things going on. And although I'd rather have Harrison here, I have more hope since his passing, because I knew what he would be, and my other kids are wonderful people too. They have the same kind of feeling about love and equality and all these things that really make this a better world. So I just want it to be more of a daily thing, because when you practice it, then that's when it starts happening. And I've had so many people that I've talked to that I tell the story, I just can't help it. And it'll be like a meeting for a different reason. It could be somebody waiting tables, but they're like, I love your hat, you've got a butterfly on it. My grandmother, when she passed, that was her saying, you know, it's like all of a sudden I'm talking to people and they have experience of this stuff, and I tell them about Harrison and it helps them too. You know, they're like, yeah, I really needed to hear this today, because people are looking for a way to feel better about this world, and you don't find it on the outside. Mm-hmm. You have to really, really be there. And I can tell you, at missing Harrison, it is every day. It's like Groundhog Day in the worst way, because it always starts the same. You always wake up to the pain, and it's affected his twin sister, his older brother, all his friends. I mean, it's magnitudes from one shooting, and all the people that were there. So I think the idea, people need to be, I don't want to teach children about fear. I want to teach children about having a good feeling about themselves, so that they don't just go into these waves of hatred, that, you know, they have a sense of being. And I think that's a lot of what has been lost in this generation period. And that's why you see children with guns. I mean, there's no simpler reason.
I want you to describe Harrison in one word.
A light. That's 2 words, but light.
Now, describe you now in one word.
Courage. Resolve to go forward, even though this is never going to be nice for us, but to make the purpose of helping other parents and children. I've been in the children industry forever, teaching dance. I love kids, and it really should be. And if Harrison was still alive, I know my daughter Ava has already talking about ways she wants to. She's a dancer in New York City. She's in her senior year, and you can believe this has been one of the most horrible times, but she looks in the direction of using the arts or just using her communication to help people. I mean, that's her key. It's not about being on Broadway. She wants it to be something that she mentors and helps. And I think she would have done that anyway, because she's always been that kind of person. And the same thing with my older son. He's so much older, he's 26. He, even in his jobs before, he's like, I don't want to work just to make money. I want to work for something that's my life and makes a difference. And so, yeah, I think when people say, what am I going to do? I can't pay the rent, I can't do this. They should still remember that the inner feeling that they have can change maybe one person's life. Good. And even their own lives. So, but again, when we had the 1 year mark of his death, how I feel about that, I just think of that I've got to survive till what I've got left in my life without him. His brother and sister, the same thing, they don't have him, his father. And it is a devastating blow. And like I say, it's especially devastating because of the reason he did not have to die. And all the suicides too. I mean, I hate to just put it all together, but this is a problem. And he would have been the one that I know would be successful in his own way, you know, carrying that message. I lost my son at 20 years of age. It's been the hardest thing that I will continue to have through my life. And it really makes me sad about the choices that young men have these days. And the reality is, like with Harrison shooting, the people that shot him, they were young, but their whole life was about, I think they were called, if I can say this, the No Hesitation Committee. And that just meant they don't, whatever it is, a gun comes out. So obviously they're stealing these guns out of cars. I've seen in my neighborhood, I've become very aware of it, how easy it is to get a gun. And then of course, like a lot of people that legally get a gun, they don't have training, they don't understand, they don't know how to use it, and yet it's right there in their pocket. It's a feeling, I guess, of safety, but it's not safety, because the minute that happens, so many lives are changed. And in the way I look at it too, you know, I know there's so many problems in this world. I know it. And I know that a lot of you have to be real warriors to make it through. And I understand the things that are pushing you down to the point where you don't care if you live or die. You just go day to day like that. I mean, that is what you do. People say, well, where are the parents? Well, I know the parents aren't there a lot. You know, this is a different world. It's not like it used to be. And it's been an increasingly bad case for Black, brown people, that it isn't fair. It isn't fair. But in the meantime, what's happening is you're killing people that have nothing to do with the stuff coming down on you. And it will change your life. It'll affect your life. And it's not going to be a good reason. So again, we're trying to get more guns off the street, but you have to put yourself in a place that is just not part of your life. And the way to do this is not me telling you, you better stop. Because I know it's ingrained. I mean, it's not about you saying, okay, now I'm not going to get a gun. It's about you feeling like you have a purpose in this life. And even though everything is bad, you still can be the person that changed the courses of this life. And then you don't know how good you're going to feel when you start making those changes, because it takes somebody with a good heart to spread, and another person understands that. So it's hard, but at the same time, it is a choice that will only benefit your lives and benefit so many other people. And until the laws catch up, we need you. We need you to be my son, Harrison. We need you to be that kind of person that wants to take on life, and even with bad things going on, that you still have a choice. And once you make even a decision one day on that, you're gonna feel it. It's gonna feel good to you knowing that you are making a change, because it is a huge change, and you are not the only people in this role. It's everybody, and it's every child. It doesn't matter where you live, anything. It's affecting everyone, and the end result is devastating. It is so devastating, and we are going to make a change. We are going to let kindness win. And again, it's always your choice, but instead of thinking all the things that are against you, just think of the things that you can do in a positive way that will help your family and your loved ones, and hopefully help you, that you don't feel like you're just pushed by this and that and you have no choices. You do have choices. And it would mean so much to know that there's more warriors in my little army of Harrisons going out, because we won't change the world, but we're going to change the people around here. And you guys, the youth, and your life going forward is just so, so important. And I want happiness for everybody. I want a world that feels like it's moving, and then we can still fight those other problems. You can be the people that come up, and I have a lot of faith in the youth, in the next generation, and you're important to us. You're very important. So I'm asking you as Harrison's mom, now part of the committee, that more kids have been shot than any other reason. We've got to make some change in our world, and you are the ones that I'm praying and hoping. And Harrison is beside me, and he gives me signs every day to say, it's okay, Mom, we're gonna still give the message. So I'm asking you to feel like you have something to live for, please. And don't make these mistakes, because your life is down, your life is gone after that too. I mean, I know there's regret, but it's just a pattern that we've come into, that guns are everything, and you don't have a reason to live, but you do. You can be leaders, and I appreciate you listening to me. And I love my son, Harrison Boonstoppel, beautiful soul. Well, I talk to him all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes out loud, sometimes just in my heart, sometimes when I'm in a crying fit that I can't stop, because he has really stepped forward and let me know that he is here, and it's the only reason I have really to go on, and my other kids, of course, but I mean, you feel like there's no reason. And since he passed, we started getting signs from him, all my family, and it's just grown from there to I almost expect it, because I've told his friends, your loved one's energy is there. Love never dies. They're right with this. And I depend on him. I have days where I'm like, I really need something. I really need something to let me know that you're there. I know he's okay, and it's not about being in heaven, it's your spirit. It's just that energy it's around us all the time. So I can't hug him, but I know he's there. And I do ask him a lot, to give me the strength when I go to do things, because he's there. And his friends have seen things, and you've got to really open your heart to see those, but it's just been a constant. And even when I think I can't go on, and I'll be saying, Harrison, I have to have a sign, and then they just come in. They just, whether it's numbers or we've had text, my husband and I, that were on our calendar from years ago, and it says Harrison Drums, because he used to play the drums, and we were going for a concert. Well, that's been years from a long time ago. And these things, I'm telling you, he lets me know. Butterflies, chimes, the wind, and some really big, crazy signs too. So I have to say, and my older son, I told him one day, when people don't make comments on Facebook about my son, and maybe I'm not getting a sign, he's like, Mom, he's always going to be there with you. He's always going to be there with you. And like I say, the beautiful signs, the blue skies, the sunset skies, they're Harrison skies, and you realize that person is with you. And I tell him all the time, I love you. I'm so sorry that you couldn't be experiencing the rest of your life with us. You would have been just wonderful. You would have been carrying that light. And again, my purpose in my life, I didn't have purpose until his death, because I just felt like life just kept pushing me and things bad started, just kept happening. But I really believe that energy is something that we're going to take forward, and we are going to make better for people. And I know he's the reason. And I'm not a religious person, I'm just spiritual. And I believe everybody's religion all lead to the same thing. So it's in our hands. It's in our hands.